North Dakota. This is the Scribe's Journey with your host, Richard Polinelli.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of A Scribe's Journey. We've got a great show this week, but before we bring our guest on, she has written for and edited a few anthologies. So I kind of wanted to use this opportunity to do two things. One is, and this is what reminded me to do this, is I had a short story last week that was accepted into an anthology by Belanger Books. It's a tribute to H.G. Wells. The story is The Fall of Denver. And it is based on the H.G. Wells story, War of the Worlds. It takes place at the same time as Wells' original does in London. So I was thrilled to death that that was accepted, and I'm really looking forward to that coming out later this year. I believe it's May or June. That should be out. It's the fourth anthology that I've done with Belanger Books. The first one happened right after Reservations was released, and there was the submission call for that. It was called Beyond Watson, and it was tales of Sherlock Holmes adventures that were told by anybody else but Dr. John Watson. And you could use a historical figure, you could use a fictional character, whatever you wanted to do. And it intrigued me, but I was also a little concerned because here I am, I've just barely got my first book out. Do I even have a shot here? I almost didn't submit the story. And I'm glad today that I did, because it has led to, like I said, this is my fourth Belanger book anthology that I'm going to be a part of. I've also been a part of so many other anthologies: Secret Stairs, the Planetary Anthologies by Superversive Press, To Be Men. I'm leaving somebody out as I take a look over my shoulder. But anyway, all of those subsequent anthologies that I was in never happened if I had not sucked it up and had the courage to go ahead and take a chance and submit for Beyond Watson. That's something I want you to consider if you're a writer out there. If you haven't been published, if you think, oh my God, nobody knows me, I'm an unknown, I have no shot, throw that kind of thinking out the door. It doesn't belong with you anymore. Take that chance. Now, I'm not going to guarantee that your story is going to get accepted and you're going to go on to bigger and better things. But you know what's going to happen if you don't submit? Nothing. So what do you got to lose? Even if they say no, a meteor is not going to fall down on your head and blow you up. Take that chance. Again, even if it's rejected, it's a learning experience. You will get some feedback on that story. You can use it for your next one, and you can, on your next submission, you have an even better chance of being accepted. So, there's my tip of the week. Don't be afraid to take that shot. Take that leap. And if you fall, you brush yourself off, you get back in front of that computer, you get back to work. The saying that is floating around in my brain right now is 6 times down, 7 times back up. What do you say we bring in our guest who, like I said, she's had her fair share of anthologies that she's been in, and a few of them with me. I think she's going to be a great guest. I think you're going to enjoy the show. Let's catch a quick message. We'll be right back.
My name is Detective Tommy Nolan, and I am a saint.
are back here on A Scribe's Journey, and we have our guest who we've kind of talked about in the opening a little bit, but let me read you her bio. And what we do here is we have the guest write their bio, and we tell them, give us a short bio that we can read to introduce them. And our guest has really taken the instruction to heart because this is a very short bio. Dawn Witzke writes eclectic tales of vice and virtue in the genres of science fiction, dystopian, and horror. And this includes her debut novel, Path of Angels. I'm going to add some stuff because she also edits and has written for several anthologies, and we're going to talk to her about her books and her stories and editing some of the anthologies. But first, let's welcome to the show Dawn Witzke. Dawn, thanks for being on. Hey, we are both freezing in the Midwest. Dawn lives, I think, about, what, 3 hours north of me?
No, it's an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. Okay. Well, it could be 3 hours depending if the weather keeps going the way it has been.
Exactly. Last Friday, it was over a 2-hour drive home. So.
Yeah, that was right before the blizzard hit. And then, yeah, it's been fun. We're hoping sooner or later spring will arrive.
Yeah.
We'll see. Now, your first full-length novel was Path of Angels. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything else I've written, or at least published so far, have been short stories in anthologies. I had a couple short stories in Lioness when it was still up and operating. And I think actually my first story that came out was in 2015, which was called Whitechapel's Children. And it was a horror story that I entered in Liberty Island's Halloween contest, and I got runner-up.
Nice. Hey, congrats on that. That's hard to do. Some of those contests, there's a lot of entries. Why don't you tell us about Path of Angels? I understand that is the first book of the Underground series.
Yes, Path of Angels is set in a dystopian future because I couldn't make it work with current law because I'm a paralegal by day, and yeah, so I put it's actually set in the Midwest between Sioux City and Omaha, but I renamed them. Sioux City is in the book is New Galt or New Athens, and then Omaha is Galt, and it's the capital city of Nasirma. And how I came up with this country was it's sort of a take on socialist countries and communist countries, and but I also threw in some right and left stuff. So it's got like it has a council, which is kind of like a corporate board for a corporation. So I just went on the internet when I was coming up with this idea. It was born out of conspiracy theories. And it was great. So I'm like picking out things. Okay, these people are going to hate this, and these people are going to hate this. Oh, and we're going to throw that in. Those people are going to hate this. And so it's a country that it's in appearances it seems really nice. The country takes care of you and whatnot. But they've outlawed guns. They've outlawed religion because, as I was reading, there are people that think that religion is the root of all evil. So I added that in. And then, of course, Adi and Misha are the main characters in the story, and they have to take, they're part of an underground church and are taking a relic from one. Adi gets asked by a friend to take a relic from New Athens to Galt, and the story revolves around that journey. And the Red Guard, which is patterned after Monty Python's Spanish Inquisition guys.
Okay.
But they're not funny by any stretch. These guys are downright mean. They're judge, jury, and executioner in certain instances. And they're evil. So Adi and Misha are trying to stay out of, under the radar with them, and get this relic down to Galt, and you'll have to read it to find out exactly whether they actually make it.
we don't want to give away spoilers here. We want people to read the book. Now, obviously, by calling it an underground series, there's a sequel coming soon, and I believe the title for that is Courage of Martyrs.
Yes, it continues where at the end of Path of Angels, and in Path of Angels is kind of it's the instigator of a whole lot of things happen, and Courage of Martyrs is all the consequences of things that happen during Path of Angels. So, you know, they thought they got away with some things, and all of a sudden it comes back to bite you in the butt. So, yeah, I'm about not quite halfway through finishing up final edits on that.
So it's due out later this spring, say May-ish.
Hopefully, if I
Yeah.
don't get interrupted by 6 million other things, which I happen to.
No.
I so happen to. I do that all the time. I
Yeah.
have my New Year's goal this year was to finish all the outstanding projects I have. I counted about 85 of them. And some of those are novels, some of them are most of them are short stories. But yeah, so I'm trying to go one project at a time and finish it. And yeah, I have
I
lots
hear
to
you.
do.
I hear you. I've got a book that was supposed to come out in February. It may come out in May.
Oh yeah.
It's the
Well,
way it goes. Now, if any of you people out there really want to see me get what's coming to me, Dawn is stepping up in Courage of Martyrs.
mm-hmm.
So we'll give you another reason to go buy the book. We're not going to say what happens because I don't think I even know for sure what happens to me. But anyway, there you go.
You die.
Look,
I won't tell you. I won't tell you. I won't tell you how though.
Okay, there you go. Do I get red shirted gloriously?
It's fabulous.
Outstanding. Outstanding. I love it. Yeah, I think we've talked about red shirting before on my blog. It's a fun thing we writers do. I did it in a Western to about 9 of my friends. I have red shirted Dawn, but she survived in a zombie Christmas Carol.
Yeah, I actually that happened several times. I've been redshirted like 2 or 3 times, and I live every time. It's like, really, what happened? I can't die for nothing.
Well, apparently I've been redshirted 3 times. I'm going to be resurrected by the same writer and then redshirted a 4th time. So
oh, there you go.
there you go. Okay, so now how many books do you have planned in the Underground series right now? So are you just going as you go, or do you have a set number?
Well, originally I had 3 partially planned out, and then I lost like a book and a half of writing. So I'm not sure how far I'm going to go in this one. I have ideas for at least 3, and then there'll probably be 4 or 5 as I work on it. But
Yeah, as things come to you. Well,
yeah,
having read Path of Angels, I'm looking forward to Courage of Martyrs, not just to find out how you bump me off, but I mean it's been a good series. Now you mentioned Path of Angels was your first full-length novel, but you had written several short stories dating back to 2015.
mm-hmm.
Most of them, I'm assuming, have shown up in anthologies, but have there been some standalones?
I don't other than the story that I did for Liberty Island. That is really my only one I think that's been by itself. I had 2 Relic Hunter short stories, which are kind of like a space PI guy that works to find things. Those 2, I had 2 of those stories on Lioness, which was a short story service. I think everything else was in anthologies that I've had published anyway.
Now, when it comes, well, we're going to talk about the stories and the anthologies they've been in, but you also have edited at least. I know you edited Planetary Earth. You and I are co-editing Planetary Pluto, but I thought you've done more than just that as an editor.
I did. My original, I stepped in to help edit Mega 2020 back in, when was that? It feels like it's been forever. It was
I think it was shortly after the election.
2000, what is today? 2000. It was 2017. It was
Yeah.
in October. We released it a year after I think he was elected.
Okay.
After Trump was elected, and that was Marina Fontaine and Mona Lisa Foster and I were kind of co-editors on that. We took it over about a month before it was supposed to go live. So we were rushing like crazy to get all of these stories and stuff ready and laid out, and so it could go live because we
Right.
had a hard deadline for that one.
Now, if I remember that far back, because it's been 2 years, and oh my God, the things that have gone on the last 2 years around me. If I remember right, that was supposed to, there was two books, and there was, or am I confusing this with Trumpocalypse and another one?
Oh yeah, it originally started out. It was supposed to be Trumpocalypse with
Okay.
a totally different publisher, and that publisher flaked, and they put out a cover right after Kathy Griffith put up her headless Trump, and they wanted to put the cover with heads in jars with Trump in front of them, and we're like, no, this is supposed to be a positive anthology of positive future stuff.
Yeah.
So it ended up getting pulled from, or that editor or that publisher dropped it. They got mad, and Superversive Press picked it up.
Yeah.
And from there we ran with it, and it came out pretty good. I mean, it's it paid for my wedding dress. So
there you
so
go.
it still does fairly well in sales.
Yeah. Speaking of Superversive, as I mentioned a little bit ago, you edited Planetary Earth. You and I are doing Pluto. Yep. Pluto, I am hoping it will be out by the end of this year. Please. We're close. We're getting close to getting that, at least as far as what you and I can do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I have a couple more stories. I got interrupted yesterday. Otherwise, I would have had them finished.
Well, there's, including me, there's 20 other writers who are constantly, well, not constantly, but they're every once in a while I get an email going, any word? I'm like, nope. we're moving, but you know,
we're still trying to get people to recognize it as a planet. As soon as we get that finished, we'll publish.
Yeah, well,
no, it probably won't be that long.
No, I think we'll have that book out before we can talk people into acknowledging that it's still a real planet. But anyway, yeah. we'll get there. You've been, as a writer though, you've been in, I want to say, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, the planetary anthologies.
Yes.
Are there any others you're going to be in, or that you've submitted to and you're just waiting to hear back?
No, actually, I think after Mars was the only ones that I've submitted to. I've been kind of busy the last year, getting married, moving, and I moved a law office, and then I moved my house. It's like getting time to sit down at the computer and actually do anything has been challenging. But I do have lots of stuff that I'm planning for the future. So.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Moving from California to Nebraska put me way behind what my original schedule was, but you do what you got to do. So the reason why I was leading up to that was, did you have any kind of like an overall theme in your short stories that are in the Planetary series?
I did not. In Mercury, I did a kind of a sort of a light horror take on. It's a sci-fi take on, what is that movie? Little Shop of Horrors. I kind of took a little bit from that for that one. Venus was a King Arthur romance type story, and Mars was a assassin type story, where it was basically a little old lady that was getting revenge.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you got to watch out for the little old ladies.
Yeah. So on Mars, no less.
Hey.
Muslim invaders came in, and she was getting revenge on them after they killed her family.
Yeah, because I know some of the writers have been trying to get into all of them, and they have a overall theme that kind of weaves through all the stories. And I did that with mine, although I didn't submit to all, what is it, 11 or 12 that are planned.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Because I horsed around and didn't realize Mars and Mercury were already, that close to being closed, and it was too late.
Mhm.
But I had this theme going. I realized I blew it up with Pluto. And I'm going to blame you because the original Pluto story I was going to run, I
Yeah.
picked you to run in Earth. And then I was left with nothing. I'm like, I'm just going to go completely different direction. Then we're going to get to Pluto. I'm going to head that away. And, I think it's a fun little story.
It is.
We'll see.
Uh,
But it takes a little shot at Neil deGrasse Tyson, deservedly so.
mhm.
One other anthology that you were in was Secret Stairs.
Oh, I forgot about those. Through Silver Empire is actually in two of theirs, Paragons and Secret Stairs. Secret Stairs, I think a lot of other writers went the horror route, and I didn't. Um, I went with a girl that was being abused and using those stairs as kind of a refuge. And she'd read books, and they would come alive, which was, just out of the blue as I was writing it. Um, but there's been several reviews where people mentioned my story. They really liked it. I'm like, okay.
Hey, it was, it's one of my favorites out of the collection. There's like 34 stories in this thing. I have no idea how Russell crammed 34 stories into one book, but he did it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do the editing for that.
No,
That's all.
And
Yeah.
I learned one thing, and it's making me struggle picking the first story in Pluto. When I found out mine was the first story in Secret Stairs, it was 3 weeks before launch, and for 3 weeks it felt like there was a whole planet sitting on my back, because when you go to Amazon and you click the preview,
Your photo is first there.
I'm there. So people are going to decide, is this worth buying or not, based on mine.
Yeah.
And here's these other 33 authors who are pinning their hopes on this being a success right on me. So yeah, that was not a fun 3 weeks. So
well, you must have did something right, because it's still selling pretty well. So.
And boy, was I relieved to see that.
Yes.
Yeah. What the lesson I've learned is I'm not telling the author who is going to be first in Pluto until maybe a day before, because I don't want them doing the same thing, because that was just brutal.
Yeah. I think in Mega 2020, who we originally thought was going to be first in line, their story really didn't come out with a bang. So we put John Del Rose, his story first, and boy, does he get a lot of ragging on that one.
Just a skosh. Yeah. John can be a bit of a lightning rod. Love him to death, but man, that man can draw controversy in a heartbeat.
Yep. It follows him around, I think.
Yeah, some people thrive in that, and I've reached that golden age where I just go do and have fun, but I'll just sit back here on the bench and watch the world go flying by.
Yep.
Now, the one thing I wanted to ask is, which do you prefer doing? Do you prefer writing the short stories for the anthologies, or do you want to start focusing more on the full-length novels?
I want to focus on the full-length novels, but short stories are nice and sweet, and I can get them done in much quicker time and move on to the next thing, because I've rather ADHD and when it comes to writing, because my husband keeps telling me that I work on too many projects at one time. I was working on 3 different novels at once. So, and that was in between all the short stories and stuff I was writing for the planetary anthologies. So now I'm just working on the one. I like the writing the first drafts. The editing, nah, not so much. I like editing other people's stuff. I'm good. I'm fine with that. I like doing that. My own, no, I hate doing that.
So that was going to be my next question: is what do you find easier to do? Is editing all these short stories for the anthologies that you've been doing, or editing your own stuff? So I think we know.
I definitely like editing other people's stuff because I don't know what's in the story. So when I have a question or whatever, I'm telling the author what I don't, what what's missing or what I'm not seeing. Whereas my own, I know everything that's happening on the page and off, and so it's like I think that I wrote something in there that's supposed to be in there, but I really didn't.
Yeah, yeah. That's one thing I've noticed is when I get something back from an editor and it's got this question, I'm like, well, I explained that and it's right here, and I look, it's like, oh wait, nope, didn't. Oops. So that would be a quick tip to writers: get an editor. Just for God's sake,
Yes.
get an editor, because it's not just correcting the spelling errors; it's finding the gaps in the story that your readers are going to fall into and never come back if you don't plug it. So
Yep.
okay, so we have come to the point where we're going to ask you about a certain top secret project.
Oh yes, my
So
top
lay it
secret
on us.
project that has gone through a couple different, um, well, three technical issues to get it up and running, but we're starting opening. Okay, it opened March 1st unofficially. Um, it's called Dead Tree Books, Comics, and Games, and it's um, centered around indie books, indie comics, and games really aren't so much indie. Um, but, or I should say, a lot of them that we deal with are already either very small publishers, that type of thing. But we opened up online. It's called deadtree.online, and it has it. We're going to slowly add books, but most of them are vetted. So because I never have time to read, but my husband reads like 5 books a week. I don't know how he does it. So so far he's been the one picking out the books to include, but there might be a few that I get to throw in there too. I'm just doing the back legwork. But originally I was going to have this up in December, and I had a template and everything was ready, and there was huge problems with the template that I was using. There were so many errors with it that I couldn't even get it to use it, so I had to start all over, re-enter all these books. But for right now, it's going to be mainly online, or if I can get into cons, we'll transport physical books. But it's called Dead Tree because it's only going to be paperback editions, physical editions, no ebooks.
Well,
Mainly because,
ebooks you can find anywhere. So yeah, having a physical book would be.
well, I also don't like the idea of ebooks so much because you don't own the ebook; you're renting it. So if you're paying $10 for a ebook, you're paying $10 to use that book as long as Amazon or whoever you get it from let you have it.
Which
Unless
is why I download all of my ebooks that I buy, and they're on my computer. If something happens, I've still got them.
yeah, that's usually how I do too. But
So there's a pro tip right there for readers.
yep.
If you can get your Kindle loaded up on your PC and they have it for that, go up there and hit download and back up that file. And if something happens,
Mm-hmm.
you've always got that file. Because I have seen it happen where they pulled a book and.
Well, also if you look for authors that do the non-DRM, those books you can download and you don't have to worry about Amazon and their software.
Yeah.
You'll always have it. But I still like physical books because you can throw them at people.
Well, the thing is, most of my physical books are very thick hard covers, and
Oh, those would hurt.
yeah,
Yeah.
you start tearing. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of paperback
Mm.
toss that aren't mine, and I don't want to throw my books. I
Um,
too much. So
yeah, well, I have a few here that, they're by authors that I don't particularly like, so it
there you
won't matter.
there you go. That will work. Okay. Yeah. Before we start getting YouTube onto us for promoting violence, the one thing we do here is we because of the title of the show, A Scribe's Journey, we find out from our guests how they made the journey to becoming a writer. So, how did you? How did you get here? What prompted you to start writing?
Oh boy, I have actually been writing forever. Even before I could hold a pencil, I would make like all my cousins act out stories that I come up with, or I would petrify them with horror stories in the middle of the daylight. I could make them scream that way. It was great. Um, I liked writing horror. It gets a reaction. Um, but yeah, I've always been always written. I've never. It wasn't until about 2015 that I actually decided to start publishing fiction. Before that, I did write for magazines, nonfiction, because nonfiction is pretty straightforward. Um, I actually think it's quite a bit easier than fiction, because fiction you have to actually come up with stuff and make it make sense. And nonfiction, you just write it. It's um, you just have to describe what's already there. It's so much easier. Um, but the problem with magazine writing is pay takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
I might only get a few dollars here and there from Amazon for book sales, but it's still faster than getting the $25 for a magazine article 2.5 years afterwards after I submitted it. So, um, but yeah, I decided to try publishing fiction because I didn't have anything to lose. Um, and I went through. I used to have you should see, I have an entire plastic tub of notebooks that I've had forever because I'd always write down little scraps of stories here and there and throw it in this thing. And so eventually I started pulling them out, and eventually some of those are part of my 80 some projects that I have to do. Um, but
You've got me beat because I'm a true child of the digital age. All my notes are on computer and quadruple backup, so I don't lose anything. But I think I
oh,
checked the other day. I've only got 30 folders, so I only have 30 projects that I could turn to if I were to catch up ever with what is up on my board right now. So
yeah, if I had everything that I ever lost on the computer, I would have way more writing than I actually do. But a lot of my stuff, I get started with it and then I move on to a different project. So I have a lot of very unfinished projects, things that are started but never ever completed. So that's my goal for this year, is to start completing some of these things and getting them out. And
that is kind of the hard part sometimes is getting these things finished and being able to not get sidetracked by this new this new idea or
these new
something.
characters,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like there's bunnies in space. We must go write them.
Yeah, what does that mean with the guy turning from his girlfriend to look at the hot chick walking by? That's writers with our stories.
Yep. Yep.
The current project is the one we're turning away from because some new flash in the pan just walked by. So
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is, I guess. Dawn, why don't you let us know how and where we can find you online and find your wonderful books?
All right, you can find me under dawnwitzke.com. I'm technically Dawn Grimes now after I get married, but I still write under Witzke because I don't have to change my domain name and everything else. So
Yeah.
I'm still under Dawn Witzke, and I'm on Facebook, Twitter. Where else am I? I think I have an Instagram account, but I don't use it very often.
I've got some social media accounts. I couldn't even tell you how to find them now. So don't feel bad.
Yeah. So I'm out there. Just search for Dawn Witzke. There's only like 3 of us in the entire country, so I'm really easy to find.
There you go. Well, I assume there's only one of you that's writing right now, I hope.
Yes. Yeah.
And if one of the other two starts in, we'll just have a word with her. You can't have this. This is Dawn's. Leave her alone. Okay, so it's Path of Angels and Courage of Martyrs, the Underground series. That book is due out soon, and you'll definitely want to read it because I'm figuring it's going to be every bit as good as Path of Angels. Keep an eye out for all the anthologies, especially Pluto, and trust me, I will be crowing from the rooftops when that thing is officially given a release date. So hopefully Dawn and I have collected 21 very interesting and very entertaining stories for you guys to read in that.
Oh, there are chickens and all.
Cyborg chickens and Vikings in space. How can you do that? How can you do that? Actually, the cyborg chicken writer is due to come up in 2 weeks. She's going to be on the show.
Ooh.
And I am seriously considering introducing her as Cock-a-doodle-doo Mother Cluck. Just to see the look on her face. And that's an inside joke, people. Come back in 2 weeks, it'll be explained. But anyway, that could be an interesting show. I tell you what, we're a group anyway. Dawn, thank you for being on. We're going to go ahead and let you go. It's been a pleasure having you on, and we'll have you on again in the future when you've got something else coming up.
Yeah, in about a year when I finally have stuff finished.
Well, when you have something finished, let me know. We'll get you
All
on
right,
there.
I will.
Thanks again, and let's go catch a couple of quick messages, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back, and that was a great show. Thanks again, Dawn, for being on. Dawn and I were at a Comic-Con in Omaha. Technically Omaha. It was actually held across the Missouri River in Council Bluffs. Comic-Con. We did a panel. It was a lot of fun, actually. The audience was engaged with us, and everybody behaved themselves, which was very nice because we weren't all in agreement with what we were talking about. But we had some great questions. We had some great comments back and forth. They listened to us. We listened to them. I love those kind of panels. I have heard horror stories about panels that have not gone nearly that well. So I was very grateful that Dawn and I had a very good experience. Before we go, and in keeping with our anthology theme for the show, there's an anthology that's out. It's going to be coming out. Let me correct that. They are looking for stories to be submitted to the anthology. They are also hoping that people will want to purchase the book. Now, it's not just another anthology and just another author trying to get a book sold to further their career and line their pockets. This one, it's kind of important because it is an anthology that is raising funds for a young lady who is going through some very serious medical issues. She's going to be having surgery soon. But the surgery is going to be very expensive. The medical bills are almost as bad as the medical issue itself. So a young author who is going to be a guest on our show in August, A.M. Freeman, has put together an anthology that she is taking submissions for. The anthology is going to come out. They're hoping to raise money. All the proceeds for this are going to go toward helping this young lady out. with her surgery. There's also a GoFundMe that has been started. If you just want to go ahead and go help this young lady out, that would be nice as well. If you want to know more about it, and unfortunately I don't have a whole lot of information with me right now other than go to lostinlalalandblog.wordpress.com, and that's hopefully we can get that up on a black screen for you as I'm talking here. The post that you're looking for is Save a Life, Get a Free Book. It will have all the information on if you want to, as a writer, submit a story toward this effort. It'll give you the information on what kind of stories they're looking for and how you can get that to them. If you are a reader who would like to know how to get a copy of the book, that information's there. The GoFundMe link is also on that blog post. So everything you'll need if you want to help out, and again, it's for a worthy cause, and I'm hoping that you will join me in helping out. Again, it is Lost in Lala, that's L-A-L-A, land, blog.wordpress.com. Go take a look and see what you can do. Anything you do will help. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be Bill Gates and write a check for the whole thing. Whatever you can see your way clear of contributing, that would be wonderful and very much appreciated. And I'm sure the young lady and her family will be very, very grateful as well. All right, let's wrap this thing up for this week. Guest next week is going to be B. Michael Stevens. He just had his debut novel out recently, and it's a good one, and it's doing well, so we're going to talk to him. He and I are brothers from another mother. We'll put it that way. He is doing in his day job what I used to do for my day job. Oh, good Lord, we're coming up on almost 35, 40 years ago. So he and I have some more stories to exchange. That'll be kind of fun. The week after, we have Bokara Brumley, who also has some really good novels out. She just had a book recently come out. We're going to talk to her about that. And she is, as you probably heard earlier, Dawn and I mentioning, she is the young lady who created the cyborg chickens, who are going to be trotting their way through the Pluto anthology later this year. Yeah, I'm going to do the Mother Clucker thing. Yeah, I got to. It's what can I do? And we're going to close out the month with Right or Wrong, who is a author who lives out in the Los Angeles area. She had a fantastic debut novel about 3 years ago called Ireland Calls My Name. Her name is Right or Wrong. She's going to be a guest on the show. She has a new book that she has also released. It is not a sequel to Ireland Calls My Name, and I will be getting on to her for that because we want to see what happens next from the ending of Ireland Calls My Name. We want it now. It's been 3 years. You're killing us, writer. So that's who we got coming up. In the meantime, readers, keep reading. Writers, keep writing. And keep walking the path of a scribe's journey. We'll see you next week.
This has been a Scribe's Journey with your host, Richard Paulinelli, a Tuscany Bay Productions presentation.